The New Britain Board of Education, providing students with a high-quality education.
Good evening. The time is now 6:05 and we're going to call this meeting to order. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Ms. Parker, if you would lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So did next time I say it wrong? No. Okay. All right. Ms. Solari, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Nicole Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Mercier.
Here.
Ms. Sanders Connolly.
Here.
Ms. Cheney.
Here.
Mr. Gay.
Here.
Dr. Jimenez.
Here.
Ms. Muniz. Here. Ms. Parker.
Here.
Ms. Nancy Rodriguez.
Here.
And Mr. James Sanders.
Here. Thank you. Will you please take a moment of meditation? Thank you. All right. At this time, we will have student recognition. And the first group that we will be honoring is our boys basketball team.
Hi all. I'm not much good at athletics. I'm going to leave that to Mr. Cordo, but what I would like to do is express to the gentleman a story similar to what I told to the pep rally, but I want all the folks here to hear it. And that is what you brought to New Britain. And I can tell you best by a story. The day of the game, I went to a store in Newington to buy my face paint, head paint. And I was wearing a New Britain t-shirt. And the lady behind the counter asked me, hey, are you going to the game? And I told her yes, and I asked her, and she said no, she had to work. She was a former graduate from about 10 years ago. And I find myself in the position of counseling her to call in sick so she could attend the game. And so that's really what you brought, is you brought excitement and pride back to the city of New Britain and to the high school. And for that, I certainly do appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yes, it's congratulations to the basketball team. They had an outstanding season. They won our CCC division. They got into the tournament playoffs, did well. They got into the state playoffs and brought us all the way to the Mohegan Sun, where they faced a tough opponent. We didn't have an athlete over 6'2", and they had a few that were much taller than that. So we represented New Britain well. We filled the place, and we were playing a team from Waterford that was only a few miles away, and we had more spectators than they had. It was a very, very good night. At this point, what I'd like to do is have the boys come up one at a time, and in that mic, or this mic right here, come up here, say your name, the grade you're in, and then proceed around and shake all of the board members' hands, and we'll go from there. So why don't you come right up? Come on, Kia. We're going to take a picture out in the foyer. Okay? So come on. Yes. Yes, I will. Go ahead. We'll get him at the end.
My name is Kion Gunn. Kion. What's going on? Hey.
Don't touch it. Just go.
I thought we was on the mic. All right. My name is Kyan Gunn. I'm a graduate 2019.
Senior. Go right that way. Come right up, guys. Go ahead.
My name is Benyo Aika, and I'm in 11th grade.
Go ahead.
My name is Edgar Torres, and I'm in the class of 2020.
My name is Samin Dupree, class of 2020.
My name is Brian Thompson, class of 2019.
My name is Isaiah Diaz, class of 2020.
Isaiah Jenkins, class of 2019.
Maurice Turner, class of 2019.
Shamad Charles, class of 2019.
Deshaun Clark, class of 2019.
Coaches, come on up. Coach Shaw, Mike. Why don't you lead the show here?
How you doing? I'm Coach Reese. I'd just like to say thank you for having us tonight. The kids did an outstanding job over the last 2 years representing the city. And like Lenny said, even I was shocked at the amount of support we had at the game that night. You know, it's been a great group, and reason being is a lot of their parents are sitting here, and I think that's a big reason why we were successful.
You're next. Introduce.
Coach Shaw, Darwin Shaw.
Coach Zayas.
Show him when you walk out.
Coach Thomas. Coach Thomas. Coach Thomas.
Coach Yop.
It's okay. We don't need it. Huh? Yeah, go out for the picture. And on top of all that, the boys basketball team, in conjunction with the other teams in the winter season, allowed us to win the CCC, our league's Sportsmanship Award. So I'm going to bring that around.
So Mr. Moyer's a little afraid to speak, but I'm going to kind of push him in that direction. He's got his 092 no excuse. So, can I start? So just really quickly, this project was, started with with our STEAM program, and these folks just always take it up to the next level. They do a phenomenal job with our students. I'm incredibly proud of what our teachers have done, but even more so about what our children have been doing with STEAM. And the project that we're going to be going over a little bit today is about our garden, our greenhouse project. So without further ado, maybe Mr. Moya, I'm going to push him a little, can talk a little bit about how this all came about. Mr. Moya.
All right, you're going to be in trouble when we get back to school.
I'm sure.
All right, so Ms. Rose and I, we had an idea at the beginning of the year that we would like to do something besides what we're doing for STEAM. So we got our hands on a greenhouse, some lights, some seeds, and we said, we're doing enough, so we're going to have the kids take care of this. So we asked the teachers to come up with a group of students who were responsible. And we have here a group of students who are more than responsible because they have to take care of that very well. They came and they investigated, they researched it, and they came out with the idea to do a vertical garden because we were lack of space. And if you've seen the pictures, if you've seen the product that they have brought up to the school, it's incredible. I've never seen nothing similar to that. So our goal is, if the weather helps, we'll transplant those plants that we have right now in our garden, take it outside, collect the fruit, the vegetables, and invite the parents to come and have a nice meal with us. So,
So just really quickly, I just want Ms. Rose to talk about maybe some of the plants and vegetables that were kind of set up and how the students kind of encountered this process. Ms. Rose, talk a little bit.
So we had a variety of vegetables and fruits that students, kind of looked at what the requirements were for growth and things like that, and they picked the ones that they wanted to plant, and that's how, they selected the things that we're growing right now in our greenhouse. And so we had a schedule where they had to come, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. There were specific students that had to come and take care of, watering them and, whatever the need was for all the plants that were growing in there. And so they would just come in, water the plants, and just leave, and, that's how it's going. Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be calling the students, but I was just wondering if maybe, as I call a student, if they can quickly speak about some of their interaction, like what did you like about this process? So the first person I have here is Sam Petrisco. Sam, come on up. Want to just quickly say a little something about how the project was? You don't have to, it's okay, but I'll put you out there.
I liked that I could really get into the project and do a lot of stuff with it. Yeah.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. Are they going to be here so we can take a picture after? Do you want them to walk around?
Please accept and congratulations on the board.
Our next student, Aaron Edu. Aaron? Not here? Okay. Okay. Aw. Jacqueline Pena? All right. Would you like to say something about the project?
My favorite part was teaching the second graders about plants, because outside they were fixing the soil and stuff, so we were helping them. That was probably my favorite part about it.
Awesome. Kyran Navarro? Not here? Okay. Sayuri Montavo? Tell me what you liked about it.
My favorite part about the greenhouse was when we helped the first graders. And I like really helping people a lot, and the greenhouse is really fun.
Awesome. Our next student, Calabria Halter. Is she here? Not here? Okay. We'll still clap for her, that's right. Our next student, Antonio Simmons. Antonio. Nice job, bud.
The thing I like about it is that I get to work with people that I never worked with before, and I also get to learn how to grow crops and everything around my garden.
Awesome. Alicia Rivera Carrion. She here? Yeah. No? You want to say the full name? You want to say something?
My favorite part was when we helped the first graders because it was crazy because they wanted to kill the worms and we were like, don't kill the worms, they help the soil.
Go ahead, sweetie, go around. Shake your hands. So these next two go to the two teachers that kind of took this to the next level, and that's, of course, Kit Moya and Laura Rose. Awesome job to both of them, so thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so for the next student recognition, we are Consolidated School District of New Britain student receives an award from the Special Olympics Connecticut Annual Awards dinner. I guess it's for the Special Olympics of Connecticut.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Destiny Little is a New Britain Unified athlete who was awarded the Spirit of Life Award at the 2019 Annual Awards Dinner. This awards dinner celebrated our game changers for Special Olympics Connecticut. Destiny received her award and represented the Consolidated School District of New Britain at the AquaTurf, March 21st, 2019. The Spirit of Life Award was created in 1982 in tribute to our athletes and their accomplishments both on the field and in life. Destiny was chosen to receive this award because she is kind, she's thoughtful, she's a wonderful role model to both her friends and her teammates. So congratulations, Destiny, on receiving this award. I'm going to go and shake everybody's hand, okay?
For the next student recognition, a home student advocates at the Connecticut State Capitol, and the introduction for this student will be done by Merrill Game.
So we have recognized a bunch of big kids, kids who are really good at sports, lots of other reasons to recognize kids, but rarely do we get to recognize a second grader for doing something really extraordinary. As many of you know, I spent a lot of time at the Capitol, and I was up testifying on a bill and waiting to testify when a very small person came up and testified. And she did a wonderful job telling a story about how one of her classmates, one of her friends got sick, and all of the trouble that her parents had because they didn't have paid time off to take care of their daughter when she was going through cancer treatment. And so the pictures you're seeing are Winnie presenting 5,000 petitions to yes. Folks at the Capitol. Senate President here, and here she is with the co-chairs of the Labor Committee who were so impressed by her testimony that they had to go out and take a picture with her. Here she is with Senator Looney, and I think that may be waiting to get in to see the governor. But I wanted to make sure that we recognized Winnie for doing something that most second graders don't ever do.
That's right.
Going up and participating in our democracy, telling her story, and making sure that everybody understood why this was so important, that we get a system of paid family leave so that parents don't find themselves in the situation between the rock and the hard place of potentially losing their job because they need to take time off to be with their child, or the parents who can't afford that time that they have to take off to take care of somebody in their family. So I am very happy to present this award to Winnie Mattingly. You should shake everybody's hand, okay? Right? Start right here and shake everybody's hand.
Yeah, I'm like, she's got her moment.
I know. Good job. You already got me, but good job.
Can I give you a big high five? Yes!
Good job, sweetheart.
I've never testified. It is cute. It's very cute. The pom-poms too.
Good ball, pom-pom. We good.
Last but certainly not least, we have a recognition of an adult. Smith Elementary paraeducator saves a student's life. And so we have the principal from Smith, Miss Karen Falvey, coming up to introduce Miss Alba Ferrer.
Just really want to thank Miss Bonnie, as we call her, for thinking on her feet. She was monitoring one of our special needs students in the cafeteria. Without hesitation, the boy was choking. She saved his life. She didn't even think about it. She took all those procedures and guidelines that we have, all those trainings, and put it into action, and definitely made sure that our students were safe. And we just are very, very grateful for her, and as is the family.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Solano. Thank you for coming out. And at this time, do we have anyone signed up for public participation? Anyone who would like to address the board? Anyone who would like to address the board? Okay, last and final time, anyone who would like to address the board? Public participation is now closed. We are now at the report section of our agenda, and the first one will be Superintendent Sick.
Thank you. A couple of things I didn't put on. I just want to recognize not just our teachers, but really all of our staff, because if you work in the school system, everyone is a teacher, right? Regardless of their role, everyone is critical in ensuring that our kids are growing and thriving. And I didn't bring these for you, and I will, I'm sorry, but we had really beautiful note cards made again that our students are the original artists on them, and all the teachers and all staff is receiving the note cards from our kids this week with a pen. Yeah, those are, you never have too many of those when you're writing out thank you notes, especially to children. So, but I just want to recognize and do a shout out for our staff, because they come every day and they work hard. They work hard, and it's a tough job. So I'm going to say that first off. I'm going to talk about something that's going to be coming up later in finance, or it's going to be on the on personnel, to talk a little bit about what we're calling our small integrated classrooms. And we've been planning every week. We meet, a small task force meets on Fridays. We did a quick not quick. We did an analysis at the beginning of the year. What we noticed was we have programming for students who have an IEP in either a self-contained or a modified self-contained program, but we only have at the elementary level one classroom that addresses students who have challenges around our life and learning competencies, around self-regulation, self-management, and those sorts of things. And it's a critical need in our district. And we talk, our administrators understand culture and climate is critically important in a building to ensure that all students know what the rules and expectations are. But we know that we have students who fall outside of that continuum or who don't respond well to core. So we, from a structural standpoint, we said we have a real gap in our continuum. We've got self-contained programming for students with special needs, but we don't have anything for students who are not identified with special needs. They might be at some point, but we want to be able to give them a regular education intervention to see if we give us a real strategic approach to these students in a smaller setting in the building with a regular education teacher, then we should see different results. And if we don't, and we know that we have done interventions for 6 to 8 to 12 weeks consistently and with fidelity, then we might have to talk about going to a planning meeting. But it's to really fill a real need in our district. We all know when there are challenging behaviors in the building, it can cause quite a disruption for an entire building. And so we are putting in what we're calling our small integrated programming. We are doing it kindergarten through grade 12, but you'll notice tonight on personnel that we are looking for 2 small integrated classroom teachers at the elementary level. At the middle school and the high school level, it won't be a program where the kids are in a separate class. They'll be in their team like all of the students. We are just going to be having a behavior support and a family school liaison to support the learning on the team with additional love and support daily, morning and afternoon, check in, check out. And Kathy had asked that I bring it up tonight to talk about it. At the elementary level, we will have 3 classrooms. They'll be located at Lincoln Elementary. Each of the classrooms will have a partner teacher in either K1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, where the kids will be mainstreamed throughout the day. So it is addressing the needs that they have around self-regulation and self-management, and then going and practicing. The teachers that we're requesting will have training in specialized classroom management, and each classroom will have a behavior support coach or assistant that will be in the classroom with the teacher. We are trying to keep the classes between 12 and 15 students only. So if you think about it, and we maxed out in those 3 classrooms, it's anywhere from 36 to 45 students, and this is for the elementary level. We have 10 buildings. We have a majority, almost 6,000 of our students, or 5,500 of our students are at the elementary level. It represents 6th grade levels. There'll be classrooms, depending on the needs of the students. We're looking at it K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We currently have a classroom over at Holmes Elementary. It's a behavior support classroom. That's been in existence forever, but it only takes 10 to 12 students. And that the need, and it works. And Ms. Putnam can speak to that over time. The students mainstream back in. And for some of our students, it's just they need that small setting for a time. They need the extra support, the love, the hugs, before they go back into a mainstream. And we are going to there will be a supervisor. And if you'll recall the bigger plan, our transition center students who are currently over at Pulaski will be moving over to Slade portables this year. So if you think about the Slade and Lincoln, the Slade portables are just really right behind Lincoln School. So our students in the transition center, especially our K-5 babies, who have not historically had an opportunity to mainstream into a like elementary school because TC is at Pulaski and there was no elementary school close by. They will be using these classrooms and going into Lincoln now too. So we're setting it up, so we're calling it like a mid-level. So our TC students who are ready to move on and come and be a part of the mainstream can find a base camp there at the small integrateds before they move on to the full classrooms. Our class sizes range, you know that. I mean, we're saying we're going to cap these classrooms at 15, and we've got many towns who only have 15 students in their class. Some students just just struggle being in a class of 25. And part of that is a problem. So we're looking at this as a regular education initiative in order to adjust or help a student regulate where they are then. So I wanted to just bring that up. And we feel we're meeting the needs of our students by finding a place in a space where they will thrive. And it's not permanent, it's a short-term sort of thing where students can, and with the specialized classroom management training, there are points to be had and earned and a lot of coaching. We will be asking for a full-time social worker for these students as well, so they will have morning and afternoon sessions there. And just learning to regulate their emotions in a way that will help them go into a classroom of 23, 24, and 25. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Another thing we're excited about, we are going to be offering before and after school care for our preschool students next year over at Roosevelt Early Learning Center. We're only going to open it up to 40 students to start. We're partnering with the YMCA. They'll be providing, similar to what they do in our 10 elementaries, they'll be providing the before and the after. It's really for our students who have full day care this year. We want to see what the need is. We believe 40 slots is, we were starting at 20 and I said, I think 20 is not enough. So we're going to shoot for 40. It is a long day for our little ones, but we also understand parents do have to be at work by 8 o'clock and some don't get out till 5:30. So we want to be able to offer them a day of preschool, but also before and after school care too. We'll keep you up on that one. And just some really good things that happened. You saw a lot of good tonight. Our 6th grade students went over to CCSU and they got to meet the author of Wonder, which is now made into a motion picture. And it's about a young man who has some facial abnormalities, but who becomes a hero. I mean, I don't want to be a spoiler, but you can read the book. The book is really good. So, but the author was there and spoke to our kids, and so our 6th graders got to be with an author, which is amazing. We also had our 400 of our 5th grade students, and we didn't do all of the schools this year. We chose 5, and I did list the 5 that went. And Finish the Race was something that was in partnership with the Honor Grace Project and CCSU. The CCSU athletes come, and it's really symbolic of finishing the race. What we start, we need to finish. All students walk away with a brand new pair of sneakers from Fleet Feet. And it's a full day for them of intramural sports and playing, having lunch on a college campus. It's a great day. You can read some of the other things here, but I want to just bring this one up because we didn't recognize them yet, but we had 46 New Britain High School youth volunteers certified to become tax preparers, and they participated in VITA. And of those students, collectively, 10 of our students got back 1,100 returns. But we had 3 of our students who were the top 10 for the numbers of returns completed. Patricia ranked #1 in both cities, New Britain and Meriden, with 188 tax returns filed. And that is so impressive to me because I've never done one. Seriously, I just get so impressed with students who like that, right? Anyway, so there's something for everyone, I guess I could say. You know, we see students who are advocating, we see students who want to show their strength out on a court or in some sort of Olympic event, but we have so much to offer all of our kids, and they rise to the occasion. And then we were recognized in the grade level reading campaign for exemplary service to New Britain. And I forwarded you the link, there was an article, and so it was a good month. It's been a busy month, but a good month with a lot of good things happening.
Excellent, thank you. Okay.
And we won the game, I have
Yes,
to say.
I was just gonna say,
boys volleyball. We won the volleyball game.
First volleyball game of the season.
25-22. I know,
Yes.
I know. And I've gone to watch them. It's a hard time to get there between that and baseball.
I know. They start right
It's
at
hard to get to.
It's a killer,
early.
it's a killer. But
I haven't been
so
to
we're
one yet.
happy for them.
Excellent. All right, committee reports. Finance and operations?
We're taking in some money. We are.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, my favorite, donation from American Savings Foundation for $50,000. From the district bowling, $29.59, not too bad, gotta get some more bowlers out there, I think. $2,959. And then a $60,000 donation from the United Way. And the $60,000 and $50,000, correct me if I'm wrong, those go towards our summer programs, the summer enrichment. Yep.
Excellent. All right. Curriculum.
We did not meet this month.
Okay.
We didn't really have much on the agenda.
But you presented this month. Do you want to talk about that?
I did.
did.
I presented at the Dismantling Systemic Racism Conference this past Friday, and actually Nancy was in my session.
You did great.
Oh, thank you.
You did, and actually Rebecca, who was a consultant, she was awesome because she met with me later in the week. So you did a really good job.
She ended up sitting with me for lunch.
Yeah, she's a good
yeah.
Good resource.
Yeah, so, and actually, sort of along those lines, I don't know if for the next committee meeting or which one, I am trying to connect with someone from MABE, the Massachusetts Association of Bilingual Ed, and I would like someone to come talk to us a little bit about, bilingual and dual programs to the committee first and kind of go from there.
That'd be great. That sounds good.
Okay, policy.
Nothing to report at this time.
And personnel.
Personnel, Nancy spoke about the small integrated. There was that one position, the supervisor of small integrated is on the consent agenda. So hopefully that she answered your questions, doesn't have to hold off. There are some behavior support assistants at a variety of schools that is on the regular agenda. And we have a couple other changing job descriptions and some money changes and others that are on the new business, and we can talk about those later.
There you go.
I already got it marked.
There you go. All right. Board reports. Anyone have anything to report?
Can I just, I did attend the program, the Wonder Program at Central with the sixth grade students. I could have gone later in the day with the public, but I really wanted to see how our kids reacted. It was my day off from work, so I went. It was the day before spring break. 700, a lot of sixth graders. They were great. They were so excited because they got popcorn and a juice box on the way in. Their eyes lit up. The buses were, some were very delayed, and they sat there quietly. They were so respectful during the movie. They asked great questions of the author afterwards, like, what was the hardest character for you to write? Which was a great question. You know, it was the bully. That was the hardest, because he was so mean. She had a hard time writing that mean, just so you know. It was great. And then when she announced that they were each getting a copy of the book on the way out, the auditorium just burst into, and I took a picture because I walked out and all these, all these books piled up that were handed to the kids on the way out. It was a wonderful program, and the kids were great and really appreciative of it. It was really good.
Can we just also mention the story walk that happened at the library?
Yes, I wasn't there, but there was the annual story walk, yeah.
My sons were there, I have pictures.
Yeah, I saw that. It was not my Saturday to work. 180 people attended.
The story walk
That's
at the Public Library.
It's getting bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't it start, it started just all around downtown,
Yes.
but they moved it, it's all in the library. But there's refreshments afterwards in the community room, but, yeah. Our usual thing is, well, how was Saturday? And I just gotta, it was a zoo in here, which means that
That's a
we
good
had
thing.
we had 180 people for the story walk, so.
That's awesome.
It was, it was well attended, which is always dicey on a.
Rainy?
Yeah, well, I think the rain might have helped you,
Maybe.
because it probably canceled some ball games and
It
so
did.
forth, so. It was like, well, we don't have a Little League game, so we'll go on the story walk, so.
I think the
it was
first
great.
year we did it was drizzly too. We did it outside, Nick. You were there
yeah.
with your two kids, and I
was a
think
long,
Cordelia was in
long
a stroller. It was a long walk.
Yeah.
That was a very long story walk. It was good. Good for our kids. Yeah.
I just want to give a reminder that this Friday, the 10th at 7 p.m. at the high school cafeteria, we're holding, I believe this will be the first ever education funding roundtable. And what's unique about it is we're bringing together our state legislators, board members, council members. I believe the mayor will be there. I know Nancy Sarah cannot, but she has someone to fill in for.
Dr. Sanders and Mr. Kane will be
Dr.
there.
Sanders
I'm
and Mr.
sorry.
Kane will be there. This is going to be a solution-based discussion, and we'll be focusing not how we got here, but what we're going to do moving forward with the challenges that the city and state face with our education funding. So we're hoping it's going to be a big success, and we're going to get some good information out of it moving forward where we can all work together. This is bipartisan. This is something I'm doing with a local lifelong resident, young resident, Alicia Strong. Got to give her a little shout out there. We're looking forward to it. So we hope to see as many people from the community and the district there this
Is there
Friday.
anything, Mr. Sanders, you want us to prepare to be ready for Friday night?
Just a list of concerns that that the board has with funding specific areas. We talked a little bit about our infrastructure with the schools.
Yeah.
I know that State Representative Bobby Sanchez will be there, and he's a key player in this, and he's a strong proponent for Britain, and he's finally in a position where he can really help us. So I'm hoping he's going to be able to give us some good information Friday and direction as well. And again, this will be solution-based. We will be focusing on not how we got here,
Right.
but how we're going to get out of it.
And you know what I think we need right away, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
What time again?
7 p.m.
New Britain High School, right?
Yes.
Lecture hall?
No,
cafeteria.
cafeteria. Anyone else?
We should meet in one of the portables.
Speaking of, I also attended, was it this past Friday, the other forum in the lecture hall? It was the racism, implicit bias.
Yes.
Yeah, by the League of Women Voters and
NAACP.
And the NAACP.
And then there was one on Tuesday night too that I attended, and that was Father Abernathy.
Oh, okay.
Who came to talk. Is he from Pittsburgh? It's Pittsburgh. And I think it's Focus Pittsburgh is what he calls it, but he just mobilized residents to take action. Yeah, that one was well attended too, I heard.
Yeah, that was well attended. It's a good start.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Jefferson Elementary had, they were pretty busy during the last week of April and beginning week. They had like a parent night appreciation, and they had a really good turnout for that, where the teachers, served the families that were there. Nice turnout. And then they had on May 1st, they had a teacher like appreciation award type of thing. It was really cute, really lighthearted. They had a little twist to the way they rewarded and awarded the teachers, and it was really nice. You were busy towards the last 2 weeks, so I attended that. And Miss Parker and we and Miss Sarah, we were able to go to North End and
For the playground.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah, dedication of the playground.
yeah, see
that was
that
awesome.
and see the kids, faces all lighting up, and it was very nice.
And guess who was riding on the ride?
That's right. What a neat thing. It's like a moving jungle gym.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's amazing, and you could, like 40 kids were on there at one time.
Wow.
And there's seats on the inside, and
Yeah.
it rotates. I've never seen one like that. I was quite impressed.
It was
Have to bring
so
the
much
kids over,
fun.
Josie.
Yeah.
Smiles on their
Oh, I
faces
know.
was amazing.
They said the kids were really good about taking turns too, because not
Yeah.
everybody can get on at one time, but they take turns and getting
I'll
on
have
and
to go
off.
check.
And one little boy, he didn't ride, he just pushed off.
I know.
Little muscles.
That's where he got his score from
We even thought
pushing.
it would be a nice idea to have some committees sitting over there while we go through some.
Can't get off until you resolve this issue.
That's good.
That's really nice.
Awesome. Any other board reports? All right, excellent. There are no presentations.
No, this is just personal. I just want to shout out to my 5th grade granddaughter who won the city chess competition.
her.
for
Parks and Rec.
I tried to learn chess once.
Didn't go so well.
Didn't go
No stress chess.
Yeah.
All right, okay. We are now on to the consent agenda. If there are any items you would like to remove, please say so now.
Item O.
Item O.
Thank you. Oh,
You know.
Convenience, oh.
It's,
Oh,
all right.
Oh,
I'll take a motion.
what are we motioning to take
To
off?
discuss, to
Motion,
talk about it.
motion to approve the new position request for supervisor, small and grade classrooms.
Second.
All right.
So, I know it's a supervisor position for, is this a new hire? Or is it just a new position within, there's nothing in the packet that I could, oh, fine. I'm sorry, so it is a new hire, it's a new position. It could be someone within the ranks, we'll post it and someone will apply to it. Okay. It's local funding. This is to oversee those 45 students and the teachers that I spoke to you about. Just because I wasn't sure where the funding was. Kevin, I did not misspeak, correct? It's local?
Well, it's local right now, it's like anything, you know, during next fiscal year, sometimes we do move people from one thing to another, but it is local, but it could go to grants. I mean, if we have alliance and other places it needs, if it needs one of those type of grants, it can, but it is local.
At the moment, it's local.
And this is like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not, I don't want to say it's a pilot, it's like you're just trying this. Right, and I think part of the reason for saying we need a supervisor is, for those of you who were here a few years back, when we tried to have a transition center without a supervisor, we ended up with a very large mess. And I don't want to go back down, that this needs to be successful, we need to make sure we have structures in place to ensure its success. One of the really biggest things around the elementary is students who will enter the program and how you know, and so Sue Girlamoni will be supervising the supervisor, as well as the
She's
Lincoln
already
School.
supervising
I know she's
people.
already a supervisor. Yeah, okay. But it's to ensure that the students, it's a fluid program, and that students are coming in and out as needed. You know, it should be a service, not a place. And a student shouldn't stay in one place for 6 years, especially if it's a regular education thing.
Right.
If after a time the student is responding, they go back to their mainstream classroom. If they are not, then we go to the next level of intervention. So there's how many, it's gonna go K through 12. Yes, but at the elementary,
So
it's
she's
K
gonna
through 5.
So is she supervising the program or the people?
Both. So K through 12 though, and then the 2 people. She's gonna supervise the whole entire program, K through 12. And I'm gonna say yes, but there will be less supervision at the 6 through 12 because the family school liaison and the behavior support specialist who are working will work right underneath the social worker. They'll be identifying those 40 students who are at risk in 6th grade, 7th, and 8th grade. And so there won't be as much oversight or necessary oversight in grades 6 through 12 as there will be in K through 5. Is there a salary range? It's
In the
local.
in the admin contract, we have supervisors like at Newport High School, a special ed supervisor, we have two other supervisors. The range is 124,699 at the lowest level, and it goes up. It's the same thing as an assistant coordinator position. A full coordinator position pays more at the principal level for elementary. Assistant coordinator, supervisor pays a slightly lower level.
2 questions. First off, is there an existing job description for this position that's been approved? And then the second question is, so I guess that's sort of been answered. This is someone who's going to have an 092.
Correct.
And will be responsible for the evaluation of all the teachers who are
Correct.
teaching in the system?
Yes.
Not the building principals where the
That's
teachers
correct,
are
because it's a
in-house.
district-wide program, and so it requires, you know, to say that a building principal at Lincoln can oversee a program of 45 students who are struggling on top of 650 students is not a realistic expectation. So, similar to what we do with the, transition center, we're talking about a high level of need with these students. And it's going to have to be a supervisor who works closely with the teachers and ensures that the social work services that are being provided. A building principal is very busy all day with doing 650 other kids or
Right.
700 children. It's just being housed at Lincoln, it's because it's where we have space, number one.
It's in an elementary school, number 2, and it's now close to our transition center.
Now, where's she going to be located?
Who? Here, the
The
supervisor?
supervisor.
Oh,
Oh,
over at Lincoln. We'll be at Lincoln.
Sue would be over that person.
Sue is over, she's at TC, which is gonna be right outside the door.
Outside, right. Basically, I think the job description is essentially the old coordinator of before
No, we
there
have
was
a
a
supervisor
principal.
job description.
We have a supervisor.
It's in existence.
Okay, and then, yeah, to just,
Just in, I couldn't find it in the packet.
Right. So during the personnel meeting, I did say to them, we would be better off using a supervisor job description instead of titling each and every, like, okay, you're a supervisor wherever you are, most of the thing is basic, and then this is the place where you are, this is the program you're a supervisor over, versus saying supervisor of X, supervisor of Z, supervisor of A and B, and then you have 60 million of them, but the only difference is the name of the program.
The adjective.
Right?
Describing.
So
right, because the general responsibilities
abilities are the
same.
same. So we'll see one before, but, because it's.
So we're just requesting a new position for a supervisor, not a supervisor specifically for small integrated. That's where it will go.
That's where it will go, correct.
All right, I just didn't see anything in the packet, I didn't know where
Right.
the funding was coming from, like
Yeah.
any of that stuff. Sorry.
Similar.
Whoa, put that in my diary.
What would their caseload look like?
The teachers,
The supervisor, what will the caseload look like? So it sounds like
a
in the
max of
secondary-
45 students.
Not total though, right? You
Well,
said
at
there's
the
like-
elementary level, 15, 15, 15.
Okay.
And so for me, in grades 6 through 12, we have a social worker. So what we're trying to do is build a team at the secondary level. Social workers should not be the ones responding in crisis, because what we're finding with our social workers is they are not able to address the hours that are on students' IEPs because of reaction.
The 20%.
Reacting.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the social worker will have under her, and again, the building principal is here, the social worker is here. We have a behavior support assistant at the middle school level, specifically for these 40 students. And then with our family resource dollars, we've created new positions, and we've approved that, called family school liaisons, right? And so those FSLs at the middle school their job mostly is to work out of school time. They'll have a flexible schedule. So the behavior support assistant and the FSL work closely together. BSA ensures that the kids are getting their hugs and loves during the day. The FSL ensures that we are making sure that they are busy in after-school programming and in the evenings. And while the FSLs at the middle school, we always want the families involved, and we want them involved. In the event they can't for whatever reason, the FSL will engage right with the student directly. So an example is similar to what Janice Pena has been doing for the last 12 weeks now at the YMCA every Friday night from 9 to midnight, or 8 to 11.
Right, 7 to 11 now, because we added girls.
Right, and now we have girls, but every Friday night they're at the Y playing basketball. And we are just gonna be interviewing for these positions soon at the middle school level. It is, I wanna say, not being a pseudo guardian of sorts, but showing students fun that they can have out of school time that's related to school or healthier activities than they might engage in if they didn't have someone. So, I'm not even sure what your question was, but I wanted I wanted to explain to you, so going back to this supervisor,
Caseload, right.
Right.
it's more fluid in grades 6 through 12 because these students aren't in any kind of self-contained anything.
Right, it's not
They are a
self-contained,
part
yeah.
of the team. We're just gonna ensure that in the
Right.
morning, we check to make sure work is done, we're taking care of you, whatever. And so it's like a two-person team
Wraparound
that's gonna
services.
provide that while the kids, because what we didn't wanna do is isolate students. We don't wanna do that. At the elementary level, and the need for this supervisor is, which student's gonna go into the program, how do we know? So it's setting up
So
this
there's the
entrance
program
criteria.
management piece, and then also
Absolutely.
the supervisory
Yes.
observations
Yep,
and
and
so
again,
on.
this is our first time doing this, so we are planning and structuring it. And there'll be tweaks across the year when we say, oh, we need them here or not. And it's a similar model at the high school. The only thing we don't have at the high school is BSAs, but we are giving the high school 2 FSLs. And they will be on the teams, again, doing a similar thing. And so it's to really provide support to the social workers so they can, actually, I call them the air traffic controller. They can say to the FSL and BSA, these are the 40 kids that are the most at risk or in need. This is who you'll be supervising, this is who you'll be working with for the year. And constantly meeting back with the social worker to say, how's that going? And it's providing proactive intervention, so we're not running around.
Yes.
So just to put like really simple, straightforward question with hard numbers.
Go.
In the extreme case, this position, since this is just for the position we're considering right now is just the elementary level?
45, yes.
The elementary level?
Yes,
So
yes.
we're talking 45 students who are involved in the program.
Yep.
3 classroom teachers.
The social worker.
The social worker.
BSAs.
Okay, 3 BSAs.
And the families.
And interacting with families, but that
Yes.
also overlaps with sort of the family liaisons which we have in place.
But
So-
not at the elementary.
Those
Okay.
people are gonna go
Yeah.
just
Right,
with
not
us.
at the
So
elementary.
the only hesitation I have is, it seems like for a supervisor, which is really just sort of a small step down from a building level principal, that they're supervising a very small amount of staff and students. And I get that they're very high needs, but I do have a slight concern in terms of how much the cost is going to be for that, in terms
I
of
hear you.
ratio. I mean, granted, we do spend more on the students who need more, and I totally get that. I'm just worried that if it's only supervising that handful of staff and those 45 students, just something for us to consider, because we are often cash tight. And is this the most effective use of these dollars? That's my that's just my concern.
Can I just answer that? And then-
Sure, go ahead.
So I would say that when I look at Transition Center and their current enrollment at 65, and the Sue Girlamoni, who is there, is actually a principal. Because we understand that with those 65 kids comes much more in terms of need of student and family. So having 45 students, now this supervisor will not be in his or her own building, they'll be a part of a school culture. Mrs. Girlamoni is on her own, in her own site, she has a staff of 8? No, teachers. Less than that. I would say she's probably got, because she has many BSAs and many, but my point is, I understand your concern. When I say to you, one of our biggest struggles this year is talking to administrators and hearing teachers talk about the intensity of some of these behaviors. It's intense, and it can shake a building up
That's for sure.
with 1
Right.
or 2 or 3 kids.
Right, 2 kids can be a full-time job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, if I think it doesn't warrant it after the time, and this could clearly be a conversation with someone, then we eliminate the position. But I don't foresee that we're gonna find that they have downtime. That's my, I just know what the assistant principals go through on a daily basis, and principals who don't have assistant principals on a daily basis when there are 3 or 4 children in their building. Now we're asking to orchestrate 40 of these little ones together.
Right.
Play air traffic controller,
Right.
and these 3 go out at this time to mainstream here, this one comes back. I
The
can't expect
scheduling of them,
teachers
the
to do that.
meetings with the parents, the admission, and taking them, the process for them getting into the program, the process for them getting out of the program,
Right.
making sure while they're in the program that they're progressing and not regressing, and whatever else comes in there.
And,
Plus the supervision and the evaluations of those staff.
and I think it's a preventive too, because if we have to place those kids out, it's gonna cost us a lot
More.
more.
Yeah.
So this is one step to try to prevent that from happening. And I think the other thing that happens when you have a small group like that, she's going to get to know those families too, so it's not just the kids. You can have a better connection with the whole family, and then that can help you deal with the child better, so.
And you're right, Annie, and I wanted to say too, with the 4, 7, 9, with the 9 FSLs that we're hiring, if each FSL, and again, we've created this is new, but with the FSL positions, if we, we're saying lofty goals, each FSL is gonna connect with 40 at-risk families based on what the social worker is saying. Let's just go even more conservative and say 30. Those 9 times 30 is close to 300 families. Now, these are students outside of what we're talking about now. Touch points and contact with 300 families who have a need. That's the first, and that's what those FSLs will do. So I'm gonna help by saying we're gonna intervene early with these 300 families. Now with these other 45 students, to your point, that staff will intervene with 45 more parents. Now we're up to 315 families that we could potentially impact and maybe change the trajectory of a young student's path.
Sorry, apologize for all the questions. Are we talking about students who have already been identified with IEPs 504s?
No.
So
No.
this is pre that
Yes,
process?
that is pre. It isn't, it is, I want to say almost tier 4, right? It is, we take care of the core, those kids who don't respond to core, we provide tier 2 intervention. They don't respond to that, 3. And again, this is that space between. And for me, it's a checkpoint to say, our classroom teachers, the classroom teachers that are referring, is there a problem with the way they're instructing? Or is it truly an issue with the student? And if we can, and again, I don't always like to say that either, because any student maybe with 15 kids in a ratio of 7 to 1 in the classroom is
Right.
going to,
Perform better.
right. Now, these students have significant needs, and I would love to have class sizes of 15 forever, everywhere. But it's not a reality and there's no space to do that.
I just want to make a comment. I'm listening to all this. I don't remember which coach it was for the basketball team, but if you recall, his comment was that their success was attributed to the parents. And as conservative as I can be, I think it's extremely important to continue on that path, because the more families we can touch, that's what it's really going to take to turn things around here. So I am a big proponent of that, but I also exercise the caution of
Money, right.
Big mercy around this too. So.
So Kevin, can you
Proceed
just talk
carefully.
a little bit about well, and I guess I can, the top teacher salary is 90, 92? I'm just trying to think of the range.
Well, really the top teacher salary right now, the current contract next year is somewhere in the low hundreds. It's probably, I don't have a contract in front of me, but it's probably 203.
And what was the supervisor?
124.9.
Lowest level is 124,699. And then if you have a master's, a master's plus 60, it's a 2-tier, the admin contract is a 2-tier contract. You start at 124,699, step 1. If you go down to the second tier because you have a higher education, maybe it might be 129 something.
It's like their own little mini
Yeah.
transition center for elementary school, pretty much. But they're not identified students.
Yeah,
And I've heard it, I mean, I've witnessed, I've talked to teachers who, so I know the need is, I know the need is
As an
there.
example,
I do.
I know
I've seen it.
requested about the transition center. There's really 5 classrooms in the transition center. They do have other support positions that support those classrooms, such as paras and BSH, but there's really 5 special ed teachers. They have individual classes.
5, and I'm asking for 3 regular education classrooms.
I'll just say, these are similar concerns that I had with the Satellite Careers Academy when it was first put into place, and I was hoping that would turn out well, and it did, so I'm glad, and I'm hoping that this also turns out well, but I think it's important that we understand that and revisit it in, a year or so, and look at what are our
Absolutely.
benchmarks, are
Yep.
we being successful, and
For
is
sure.
it effective, so. I plan on, I'm going to support this, but I just thought
Get your
it's
questions
important
out
that we
there.
have those.
Right.
No, and I think, you know,
discussions.
we are very serious about ensuring its success. And for me, having someone there who is the point person is critically important. Otherwise, no one knows what the other person is doing.
Yeah. Right, so
Emergencies and everything
that's a
else.
concern.
Safety.
You know, the sticker shock is real.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but looking at the big picture, one, programs are not successful if someone's not supervising them, you know, period. So that's
Right.
part of it. And then also, sometimes you have to spend money on the front end to save, you know,
Yep.
on the back end. And it might seem like a lot, but it's a lot more if you don't take care of
Right.
these issues and you have these children needing a whole lot of other services.
And you know, we've worked really hard with our
Or
teachers this
outplacement.
year around, and again, we're not there yet, we're not, about switching our practices in the classroom so that we can, now, but we also know there's a bell curve in life, and you can be the best teacher ever, and you probably won't capture all students every year. There's going to be that one, and that's not every teacher. And if you've run a building, you know that. I mean, sometimes that 2% takes up every bit of your life and energy. So why not start young to try to change the behaviors now, get our families in to help change those behaviors so we don't have this when they're in 6th grade, 7th grade, when the behaviors are much more difficult to turn around.
Yes.
One last thing, I just want to point out, I think it's really important for us to have these conversations on the floor like this. All the children are laughing. I wanted to use this term, you know, it's watching how the sausage is made, and we often, as a group, get accused or questioned on what and how we spend our money.
Right.
I know you hear it all the time,
Mhm.
and this gives the public and other officials an opportunity to see how and why we're doing things. So I always encourage strong discussion on the floor, especially on key issues when we're trying to make changes that are going to be positive, or
Right.
at least what we're projecting to be
Right.
positive. So.
And again, I think we proved this year, we've done a really good job. Mike's gonna talk next month to all of you about the successes and challenges of major system redesign, right? But we've been very responsive as best we can to changes that are needed in real time. And that will be the same with this program. But I do need the supervisor to be able to contact a point person to say what's working, what's not.
I'd like to interject, when you just mentioned about the program, I'm really thrilled to hear about that because I'm a certified school social worker, and I recall I was constantly battling all kinds of issues and concerns on a regular basis with very little supports, as you mentioned, the principal, vice principal,
Right.
if there is a vice principal in the building. So it's a very difficult job to have, and
It
to
is.
have a program put in place to have the supports within the school and starting early is the great way to approach.
It's a win for kids, but it's a win for our staff
Exactly.
because
It's
it's
professional
tough,
off
it's
the
a
bottom
tough
end.
job.
It
It
is.
really is a tough job, and as best we can, we support them with infrastructure. That's our job at the cabinet level, to build something where we ease the pressure so they can do better with what, you know, with the kids in the room.
I don't want to veer too much off. I mean, it's related to this, but the teachers have not been hired yet for the program,
No, they have
right?
not, but it was
So
on the
it's
first
something that's-
posting. It did go out in the first posting.
Okay.
So, and actually, I've had a couple of teachers reach out to me who are very interested in doing that. Which, you know, and again, there are people with gifts to do this, there are people with gifts to do that.
Right, to do
And there are
each one.
some people who enjoy that challenge, and, you know,
Building
and so,
relationships.
right.
Right, yeah.
It's gonna take the right teachers.
Right.
Yes.
We would be very lucky to have people dually certified, whether it's
Yes.
elementary and SPED, elementary and EL.
Absolutely.
You know, and the things that are going to support probably what a lot of the underlying issues are.
Well, and we say too, I mean, at the elementary level, we're really looking for someone with strong literacy or reading foundational, you know. And so, yeah, we'll see what shows up at the interviews.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Motion to approve the 2019-2020 district calendar.
Second.
All right.
This is a change, correct? We have a change, yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I invite Mrs. Sanford up to speak on the changes and why we created the changes? Yeah, okay.
You did. Good.
It's really not on, just talk about it.
It's for him.
It's a problem. Yeah.
Part of our district attendance team is to look at behaviors over the course of the calendar and to identify peaks or valleys of attendance.
Right.
Over the course of this year, we identified how September, and last year we noticed it too, September is a high chronic absenteeism month. If we look at last year, September, we had 16% of our students already chronic in the first month of school compared to the year prior, which is 13. So when we're looking at it, we looked at our data to determine and looked at our calendar, we identified that the first week before Labor Day was a high absence rate. So our proposal is to change the very first day of school to the first day after Labor Day. And the other change would be adding one day in June and then taking out March PD day. So it's only really adding one day to the end of the calendar.
No, I was just gonna say, are we like, is this premature? It says pending 1186 union approval? Like, are we approving a calendar that may change?
That's
That has to do with the date of
No,
when
that
they
has to
observe
do with
President's
Lincoln's
Day.
birthday.
Were you on the board during that time?
No. Oh, yes, I was.
There you go,
Yes.
that's what that is.
That's what that's about.
For those,
Well, no, because if it doesn't, when they're in
Okay.
negotiations, so if they take it back or put it
We
back,
added some
that's what it
clarity
says.
on the bottom and the keys as well as the change in regards to highlighting the progression of snow days in a new color so that there's, for parents not to take those days off.
That's huge, to say, you know what, don't book anything from
Until
here to
here.
here, because if we have 5 snow days, this is what you're gonna get. I had so many people who are like, I'm going on a cruise, I go, no, you're not, or you're gonna miss graduation. But what we noticed was the first 2 half days of school, Thursday and Nobody's- Friday, yeah. they're not well attended.
Yeah.
Parents are, and
It's
I'm
a big
gonna say,
day.
I don't know if I was a parent, I'd be like, well, we can, you don't know.
It's a half day.
Right, it's a half day, how much is really gonna happen, and, you know.
Also in the last, in June, those half days are full days as well.
Right.
Because we know half days is also high attendance for
Right,
a
'cause
variety
it's
of
hard
reasons.
for
We know
parents to
in elementary, it could be the family dynamics and being able to pick up a student or having
That's
daycare.
right.
In the middle school and high school is a little different. So we're eliminating the half day in the first 2 days of September, or in the original was the last week of August, 2 half days. So we eliminated those, and also in June, that's a full day.
I'd just like to motion to amend so if you look at the header areas, this caused a minor panic attack earlier. Because the totals in the top didn't get updated, so I'd like to motion to amend August to strike where it says 2 days, that shouldn't be there. March should read 22 days, and June should read 12 days.
Yes.
Because when I added up the top, I'm like, we are only at 178. Wait.
Wait, we gotta find 2 more days.
Thank you, Dan.
Anyone else? Okay, so, can we make sure that we share this with our community partners who provide before and after care services as well as summer care? Because like, for me, working in a school district that has a different calendar, I'm thinking, okay, what am I gonna do with my kids for that week? That summer camp is now over, and school has not, now school's not starting, so I'm like, oh. So I don't know, I'm sure the YMCA will do the fun days as long as they know now, because they tend to semi-shut down after summer camp, so they can recoup because their staff, and so they might need to do some hiring prior to when they probably would.
Absolutely. And we have received a few calls in regards to the calendar. We were waiting for this evening to make sure we can share it out.
Just as a point of order, there is the motion to amend on the floor.
Oh.
Okay.
Point
of order, someone-
Second
Right.
to amend the totals on the top of the month.
All right, perfect. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Fabulous.
Thank you. And can I add one more little bit?
Yes.
Part of our campaign for increasing attendance is Everyday Matters. So
Right.
part of, you'll see on the consent agenda, some of the push for ensuring that families know that every day matters, day 1, day 5, day 10, day 20, day 180. To try and encourage our kickoff for attendance matters.
Awesome.
To that note, are we ever going to get the absentee report? Jeff's not here for me to poke at.
He is not here this evening, I'm sorry, nor is
That's
Mr.
okay.
Foran, and Mr. Foran is recovering from surgery.
Oh.
And Mr. Prokop
Did you send it?
has a personal
Yeah, that's-
reason that he's not here tonight.
Just been waiting for that since September.
I think it can, but that's usually good at that time.
He's okay.
All right.
Just one other thing on this, before it's distributed out to the public at large, I know you had mentioned it, just making sure, possibly looking at it in black and white, and as well as have someone look at the colors for some of our families who are colorblind or vision issues. Because when it's printed out in black and white, it's very hard to determine what's what based on the key. And I don't know if maybe going on what other districts use as far as symbols or all of that might make it easier for our families to read. I don't know.
Okay, Sandra, did you catch up?
I'm sorry.
I know. I'll fill you in.
Just making it easier for the community that's colorblind, has reading issues, to be able to identify the calendar and
The
what it
key.
looks like in black and white as well.
Only has a black and white print.
Especially black and white, because most people have black and white.
Yeah, a lot of times things are distributed in black and white and then
Right.
Is that today, days?
What?
Just go to school if they.
There's no school, just go. No, if the bus doesn't come, we'll go back inside.
Hashtag school day, okay, there we go, they'll
right.
understand that.
And we need to,
Yes.
Yeah,
that
vote
as
on the
amended.
calendar.
Oh,
calendar,
We
yeah.
voted.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Perfect.
Get on the hot seat, Mr. King. I mean, budget transfers.
Yes. You can motion?
Oh, motion to approve the budget amendment and budget transfers.
All right.
So B1, are you taking them all B1 through 6?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go really, really slow.
All right, someone's the second?
Anybody- yeah.
Perfect. So we'll be
Because I did
taking up
not see it in the
B1
book.
through B6.
So I wasn't sure where they were coming from.
It's right here.
It's right after the calendar.
The next page
Go
of
past
the calendar.
You're too early.
Oh.
It's like midway through the book. That's,
Well, you know why? Because it said six.
it's another budget thing.
That's
Keep
all.
going. That's last
Yeah.
month's.
You don't have to go, you don't have to talk as slowly.
Okay. You don't have to go as
You can
slow.
speed it up a little bit.
You can speed it up, yep.
I'm like,
Speed it. I was like, because it says no budget transfers.
Giving
on the-
Kristen time to catch up, so she's thankful.
So what you have in front of you tonight is really a combination memo, because most of this stuff is capital improvements, capital projects. So instead of like cut and paste, and I decided to really do it in two parts. You're seeing budget transfers and amend the budget for just under $2 million. If you recall back in, I believe we talked about it back in November, December, we realized there was an additional $367,000 in excess costs that came from the hurricane. That money has to come as an ECS funding. At that point in time, with communications with the city, this was part of the communication with the city that we were requesting, and also the state of Connecticut Department of Education said you need to amend your budget, which means our current budget is 125.7, which means our budget gets amended to 126.067. The city council back in February actually amended our appropriation. It may only be a one-year amendment, but they actually amended. Now, as a Board of Education, now, we don't have to do anything, but we probably should amend our budget too. So that's what you see. The first part of it is saying our budget was 125.7. Our current budget now is 126.067.813. There was discussion at finance as to, what's an appropriate expenditure to amend the budget. Well, it's late in the fiscal year, so it's not like you can hire 3 more teachers, 4 more teachers. And so really an appropriate expenditure that we talked about was probably for all the children in New Britain, and there was really a need for the playscapes, where all children can play. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing a request to amend our budget
for playscapes and play areas that really make sense for all children in New Britain. So that's what you see in Part A on the first page. The second page, if we go farther, you know, one of the things I'm always concerned about, and this year I always give you a report on the self-insurance fund. This year we really didn't start getting information from Anthem until February. They put a whole new system in. Unfortunately, I didn't start seeing things in February, so I had no idea how we were doing this year. And it's really a weekly system. And so a few weeks ago, about a month ago, I started sitting down saying, I got all these reports. The city was behind in posting their expenditures and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm saying to myself, I can't really wait until I'm seeing what they're posting to make sure it coincides. I actually took the 40-something weeks that Anthem provided and actually created my own revenue and expenditure reports for both us and the city, because we're combined when these reports come in. So, for instance, if there's 40 accounts that Anthem is charging, I know what our 20 accounts are. I know the city's the other 20 accounts. So I actually see the actual expenditures. So I created just a spreadsheet, and I went through it and said, geez, how are we doing this year? And what I really discovered is our revenues, our projected revenues. And when we look at our projected revenues, we look at what we budget. So when we look at our budget, our current budget, we look at the census data, and we know we budget $1.5 million in Board of Education's contribution. Board of Education contribution is really tied up in two pieces. One is what we put in the state and federal grant funds, and the other part is what we put in local. So I know, looking at our budgets, it's a little over it's about $15 million. It's like $15.4 million. So I know what that is. I also know what the estimate for the employee contribution. So when I look at myself or anybody else out here, I know that if the employees contribute, there's another $3 million that's being thrown into kitty. I also know with the retirees, based on really past history, what the retirees put into contribution. So I know that's like another $1.2 million. So I throw the numbers out there. I'm looking at my expenses and all that, and I'm going, geez, right now, at the end of April, I'm seeing a net profit. And I'm using this example, a net profit of $1.2 million, which means my revenues exceed my expenditures $1.2 million. Now, the 1.2 might be a little high, but I know our fund balance is high. So I always want to make sure, I don't want to be building up on this fund balance. You know, I don't want to be adding on to it. So I came to the superintendent and I said, look, do we have needs in this school district this year for capital? And of course, we do have a lot of needs. I think we all agree with that. So part of this recommendation is actually saying, let's don't fund $1.2 million as our contribution to self-insurance, because our self-insurance fund's doing well, and let's use that funding right now for something that's really needed in the school district. Part two is then I start looking at the operating budget this year, and I'm saying, geez, do I see surplus in the budget? And I feel comfortable right now saying I do see about $400,000 of surplus in the budget. So I don't want to close that surplus in the self-insurance fund, because that would actually, you know, so I don't really want to take that $400,000 at year end when we do the resolution and throw more money out there. I'm saying, what do I feel safe with? And right now I feel really safe with $1.6 million, $1,629,000 to use for needs, that one-time expenditures to really enhance the school system. And that's what you're seeing right now. You're seeing budget transfers for boiler replacement, which is an energy thing, for about $600,000. You see even paving projects. I mean, I think you went around to our school systems and you saw parking lots and roads, you're going to lose a few children in those potholes and maybe a couple cars. And it looks like my car. Yeah. Well, you might. Yeah. You might find a dog or two. You know, like for instance, the MIS generator. One thing too is why is the generator for MIS is because there's always concern with our technology, and we've had concerns with things happen, the generator doesn't kick in, and there can be an issue. And the next thing you know, it might take somebody a week to restore things. And there's always should be support with the generators. And we do have generators, but they're old. So it's like me, I'm getting old too. So that's out there. We have things, Slade Portable build out for TC. TC's going out there, needs some work on Slade. Manufacturing is improvements, I think, on the flooring for New Britain High School for the manufacturing wing. And also you see music. And there's need for, especially with the middle schools, the music is to buy more instruments so all the children in Britain can play instruments. I think one thing you think about when you come from the suburbs, you'll see most children, it's easy to get the instruments. But when you're in the cities and so forth, many of these children can't. So how do you get them the music instruments? This is one of the ways we actually we buy the instruments, we loan them out to the children, and they're able to learn something. And then there's other things to go with music here too. So that's what you really have in front of you tonight. It's just a whole area of things. What I'm going to be doing during this next month, I'm going to continue looking at the operating budget. And I may come forward. I'm not getting guaranteed. I may come forward in the June meeting and say, because there's a few other things that were on the list that were priorities, but weren't as high as priorities, and there might be a couple $100,000 more if we could squeeze out. But at this point in time, looking at the self-insurance fund, I'm saying conservatively, the net profit is probably somewhere in the $750,000 to $1.25 million. So I'm going high, but we do have a sufficient fund balance. So I don't really sit here and say I'm thinking I'm going too high, because even if I'm off, we close out, we lose another $500,000. I don't think that's whatever. So that's what you have here tonight. Mr. Moore is here to discuss any of the projects he may have here. I don't believe Mrs. Clerkin is not here tonight.
I can talk
Yeah,
about
I can't talk about music, guys. So
Well, I do know that as we purchase these new things, the one thing we don't have is storage area for them, and they call them the cages. We have some.
So if we were gonna talk about the bid waivers, they seem like they're for, the instruments are for the high school, the other things are for the cabinets in the middle school and elementary school.
Right, because if you remember, we spent 2 years ago, $250,000 on lower brass.
Yes.
I don't know what that means, but I just remember that.
Trombones, I was gonna say trombones and
Euphonium.
flutes.
Right, and so we bought those for the
Sousaphones.
middle schools. And we bought the instruments before we bought all the
Cases.
cages or whatever.
Cages, for the cases.
And so now we just want to ensure that the life of these instruments is much longer by storing them properly.
Accurate.
Yeah, I totally get all that, I do.
Yeah, and again, that goes for us just being more responsible with our resources.
Just we have money to do what we think we need to do. Gotta do it.
They cost a lot, it blows me away at the cost.
Her bid waiver still says.
So we can
told her to do that, and she did not.
Is that Ms. Clark?
Yeah, she
Yes.
fixed it, but did she even,
I don't know,
she wasn't at the meeting.
no, probably not,
She definitely wasn't at that one. All right,
sorry.
we'll get to it, but it's accurate here, which
It's
was the
accurate
first
on
thing
your
that-
budget transfers, it's not accurate on her
Bid waiver.
Yeah, okay, you're talking to Leona's? Yeah, I've never, I apologize, I never saw the bid waivers because I always remember the finance committee, they were done at the end and they were handed out, I never saw them, so I'm reading it out right now. It's actually coming from the same account, it's just that.
I get it, but when it's just, in my eye, it's the perception of what you're saying we're spending the money on.
Yes.
And where we're, so that's
It just
all.
needs to be listed
It just
properly,
needs to
so-
be listed properly, and she should just amend it.
So we can motion to amend it, can't we? Since we're sitting here?
Yeah, because your budget transfers are correct.
Yes.
Just her bid waiver is not correct.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it really,
Okay.
at the end of the day, when we look at the bid waivers, really we should strike out the excess hurricane funds, because the
Exactly.
reality,
Yeah, correct.
it has nothing to do with excess hurricane funds.
Right, it has to
Originally
do with
did, but
local
it
funding.
doesn't really matter, it would be a budget amendment, it still comes from the same
Correct.
line.
So they all need to,
Right, so it should just say local funding, and
Yes.
you did all your budget magic.
all that stuff, right, so let's do that on, okay, so a motion to strike
Yeah.
the wording excess hurricane funds on the bid waiver for, what is this one?
This is
For the amount of $261,682,
Yeah.
also for the amount of $63,000, and also for the amount of $43,131. I think that's the only places it's listed. I would
Yes,
say.
correct.
So for those three,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a motion I can't make.
Second,
motion.
yes you can, second.
Wait, you have one
Okay, I
more,
was gonna
one
say.
more, 43,000, did you get the 43,131?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so really what you want to say, it's really, change it to 86,316, because she really split it in two pieces.
It's all coming from local funding.
Yeah, it's all local. It's just 86,
Just need
360
to,
local.
just identify it as local funding. and
Yeah.
give it to it. All right, so we have a second. All those in favor of striking that wording and leaving it as what line item it comes from, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Perfect. Okay. Yes.
Just a question, perhaps Mr. Moore can answer this for the generator question. I noticed earlier in the, I think we've already discussed it, or maybe it's upcoming, the boiler replacement, I believe that was,
I don't think it's part of the group.
no, that was something else. I believe that was under, that was under our consent
Consent
agenda.
agenda.
But I noticed as looking through the consent agenda, that was something that we had actually gone out to bid on. We had received bids, open bids, et cetera. I'm curious as to why for the generators, because this is, $100,000, almost $100,000, why we're going for a bid waiver as opposed to putting it out to bid.
I could tell because I asked the same.
Yeah, we did. And
We
Amy
did, I
did it
did
in
the
budget,
same
in the finance meeting.
Oh, if someone else can answer it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the boilers had already been advertised as a bid, so while it was out, we made the budget adjustment. I was able to change the number in the bid that had already been advertised and out to bid. So it went from 3 to 12, and I was able to receive bids. Although it appears on the agenda as a bid waiver, it was actually a bid.
Oh, for the generators?
No, for the boilers.
I'm actually
But the
asking about the
generators,
generators,
yeah.
why we didn't bid those.
Because I just received the numbers from Kohler and Generac for the generator on Thursday, and the information was due to be placed on a board agenda, and I didn't receive the bids back in order to call it a bid, so it's a bid waiver. And I have the two quotes from Generac and Kohler.
So now you have
Timing.
Yeah, it was all about the timing.
So, and the number actually reflects what we're voting on is the lower of the two,
Not to exceed.
not,
Kohler, Generac just came in today, 7,000 less than a 90.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
that's why not to exceed. And we're gonna go with the Generac generators.
and I know Ms. Clerkin's not here, but same question on the equipment for the high school. Was it something that we went out to multiple places to get quotes?
I don't know.
Can you just email her and ask for that?
Because we want to know.
Yeah.
Because we want to stop just wavering and making sure that we're
Stop
getting
wavering.
the, stop wavering, make sure we're getting the best for the buck.
Stop, that's right.
Stop wavering.
Don't waver.
Let's not waver.
No waving.
No waving or wavering.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor signify, for
Wait, wait.
all,
Oh, are we doing a B?
It's
Yeah,
B1.
It's just
B
B.
1 through 6.
all right, keep going, because, I'm sorry, you're at
No.
5. No. He just did generators, we're at the order for reconstruction of Slade Portable, that's the last piece.
So yeah,
Any discussion on that?
no. That's number 6, B6.
Of B, yeah, because it was B 1 through 6. Bingo. Yes.
6 is the room configuration at Slade Portable, where the
Yes.
transition center's moving from Pulaski to Slade. Doesn't meet the needs of the transition center. I need to make some modifications, move some walls and add some walls, and add some timeout rooms. Because what is at the Slade Portable now is adult education and was the Klein program. This is a special needs program that needs different room configurations, and I need to do that as quickly as possible. Because
Gotcha.
we're moving adult ed out and the transition center people in.
Where are you putting it? Where's adult ed going?
Adult ed offices will be moved to the high school. Adult ed classrooms will still be throughout the district.
And the YMCA is actually hosting us for 2. The YMCA, the YWCA,
We're building a
and
classroom at Smalley.
Right, and one at Smalley, and so we're putting it out.
Throughout the community, nice.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Ray, is that the adult ed at Slade, is that the registration office?
The adult ed registration office will be at Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, so it did move from Slade?
Over to
Yeah.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And we moved the satellite program upstairs, and that's where they wanted to be, so that the adult ed has the secured entrance with the vestibule
Yeah.
at the right-hand entrance over at Roosevelt.
You think
So-
that adult ed will be a permanent location?
I hope so. I hope to see adult ed get a permanent home.
We go back years on that, I won't even bring it up.
Yeah.
I just
No.
have to ask.
Yeah, I moved them 3 or 4 times already. Yeah.
Just checking. Any other questions? Yes.
I'd just like our approval to, or at least I would be more comfortable approving these with the understanding that there will be some follow-up to make sure that we at least got quotes on the equipment for the music, and that we
Yeah.
have at least 2 quotes, absent of bids, at least 2 quotes from different vendors, because I understand there are preferred vendors, like Wenger is the top of the line for a lot of this music, a lot of the music equipment, but there are other suitable places that you could go and ask for a quote, or at least different providers even, some
When are
looking
these
for
being
business.
purchased? Like right now?
Before June 30th,
Before June 30th?
correct?
So if you want to
we can
put
wait
them,
on
you
that.
can put them there?
Put them next month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
I'm fine either way on the board with that, but.
Would the order arrive in time though for whatever it is that they needed?
They need it for the.
We need it for next
for
year,
next
right?
school year.
For the school year, okay. But the.
So if we put it on the June 3rd agenda,
What's this?
It would still be ordered by
the musical instruments.
Yeah, my concern, which is.
Ooh, that's what we're asking.
Your
No,
she's already
yeah,
ordered
it was a
them.
big concern. Last time we ordered the music instruments, they came in really late. And we had to close the books, and that's a concern. Ann Alfano brought that up to me. We had that major problem 2 years ago
Okay.
when they ordered it in April, May, and
Right.
they weren't showing up. So there's a huge concern that's gonna happen again.
and we really are, you know, for me, it's when Kevin comes and he reconciles the budget, I'm sure I can say it, and you say it in a much more eloquent way. You know, we had unfilled positions sadly this year that we weren't able to fill, and we had substitutes in their place. So you know there's a surplus, you don't know when, and when you find out, and you don't want to spend because you don't know what the needs are going to be until a certain point.
Right.
And so it's a quick turnaround, and my admins know, have your wish list ready. Be ready with it and ready to go. So
Our
we know
only
it's
point
ready.
is that they should be getting quotes from other.
Multiple sources.
Multiple
I understand.
Submitting it when they're supposed to.
Somebody, and, you know, or say why, like, I think he left, Ray always says, we're,
He's
you know,
behind
we're
us,
on
so
with
yeah.
the city. We're using
No,
the city's
yeah, or what, yeah.
agreement, you know what I
You
mean?
just
Like,
can't
no,
see
I
behind the
understand.
podium. You're
Right.
good. She was giving you kudos.
I was giving you
No, she-
kudos, like you always say why you didn't go out to bid for like your salt or whatever, because you're using the city's.
Yeah, I go to Public Works, they go over something.
Right. That's all.
So if we would just,
Unfortunately, it's at a cost.
right, so if we would just remind our
I will,
admins
I
that
will.
we
Well,
need a reason
Kevin,
if there's
you could just
only
send that
one.
email out to admins. And yes.
So I just
Can we can we make it a practice that when we put together the wish list, that maybe certain projects that we think might come to fruition or wouldn't cost anything to bid, that we bid them so we have it? I mean, I bid jobs all the time that I never get. Just happens, funding doesn't come.
Well, and that-
But
and that's-
if we have a
Right, I see
project,
what
a
you're
capital
saying.
project we want to do, a repair, 30, you know, we're thinking about moving some walls in a
Bid
classroom.
it so you have it.
Bid it, so you have it,
Right.
and then we can just verify
When
whether
it
that
comes
bid is
up.
good for 60 days, 90 days. And in the bidding process, you know, somebody like Ray Moore can say, you know, can you make this valid for 90 days? Because I think if it hits, it's gonna hit in this time.
Yeah.
You know, it's not uncommon this way here, it gives us a little bit more lead time,
Gotcha.
and then we have it all done, you know.
Yes.
the way we want it.
I get it. Sometimes it's just easier to do business with the same vendor all the time. I get
Well,
it.
yeah, but we know that gets us into trouble too.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, we do,
Here,
over 30 years.
That was gonna be my next comment.
I stole your thunder.
And to be fair, like, and to be fair, it's not like these are small items, right?
No,
If these were all and even $10,000 isn't small, but in the terms of our budget, 10,000 is small. But, you know, 200,000, you know, 150 on the music equipment, or sorry, almost 500,000 on the music equipment.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of money.
And it could be that she did have them, I don't wanna say she didn't.
Yeah.
We just don't, we don't have.
Right,
them,
and it
so-
might have been she did it a while ago, I don't know it, and she just gave us, but we need to ask.
Okay, so is that, that's not really an amendment, that's just a request.
That's just
correct?
a, yeah.
All right, so we've made the side note. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Excellent.
If you add a note, then Gail will start just
Denying
denying anything that comes without
Without the
proof
information.
of the other bids.
Yep.
Your last chance.
Yep.
Motion to approve new position request for a behavior support assistant at Smalley.
Second.
Just,
Why
what's
now?
the difference between C and D?
Location.
No, there's one for
And so-
Smalley, there's two
right.
for Smalley.
So there,
So there's
C
three
is a
for Smalley.
mistake, there is a, okay, so.
C not supposed to be there, and it's just supposed
No,
to be all
you're,
D.
what you're saying, so we're looking at D, right?
We're looking at
Looking at
C.
C by
I
itself.
know. And C, we are asking for 2 behavior supports at Smalley. In D, it's listed correctly.
Oh,
So strike.
so
strike-
strike.
So strike C, okay.
Perfect. Okay, so motion.
So it's
to-
only 2, not 3.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Look, she almost got that.
And then, so if you look at Lincoln's, so it's located at De Loretto, 1. Lincoln, 1. Small integrated classrooms at Lincoln, 3. Because remember, we talked about small
Okay,
integrated having
yes,
one of each.
yes, yes,
Smalley, 2. And again, it goes by number of students and and the need.
Yep.
Gaffney, 1, Pulaski, 1, and Slade, 1.
Got it.
And they'll be attached to those teams of students that we talked about, small integrated.
Okay. So motion.
Motion. Second.
Perfect.
Do we need to motion to remove C or no?
Well,
Strike C?
So I'm still confused because we actually have two separate,
New position request.
we have two separate requests in our agenda and in the packet. We have one that is a single BSA
And that might have been,
and that's saying,
For making it a.
right, and we just, I don't know why that is, but I'm saying to you that we have 2 BSAs that we are hiring for Smalley. Total, not 3,
Okay.
2.
D is correct, it's a total of 10.
Right.
Right, so D, not C. Perfect.
okay.
Do we need to have a motion to strike C, or
Okay,
what
yeah.
are we doing?
Can I just speak for 1 second? I mean, these requests are going forward, but you have to remember too, the board's gonna be presented a budget in June.
Mm-hmm.
And in this budget, there's gonna be.
All the positions
in there.
listed.
So these positions are gonna be there. So currently this year, we have some in BSA, we added a few because we had some trouble spots this year, and then we're adding some more. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you can approve this, or you don't have to approve it. It's gonna be part of your, it's gonna be part of your budget when you approve the
Right.
budget in June.
He's gonna write them.
And I'm gonna say, Mrs. Foligno's here too, and so I'm gonna say about a month ago, I responded to a letter I received from a teacher, and I went and had a meeting with the teacher, the principals, the assistant principal, and currently we have an intern, he's a social work intern, that is working part-time as a behavior support assistant at Smalley this year. So he's a .5.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to hire this year a behavior support person, so it will be that half-time person and this new one for the remainder of the year. So what gets dicey is, we want someone now to finish off this school year. And that might be what C was, at a cost of $6,000.
Yes,
right?
and that's.
So,
That's
right,
okay.
and so
Yep,
I'm
yep.
looking, because what we're talking about, these positions in D are really what we're gonna be hiring
For next year.
for the next school year. C is, I need a stopgap measure now, and I need to provide support at Smalley now for the remainder of the year with a 1.0 BSA. That is now, so you think about it.
So there you go.
We're hiring a little early, so next year we'll only hire 1 at Smalley to make a total of 2. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yep.
So
So then we still need C.
what I would recommend
still
is
need
that we
C.
actually, we did have a motion second on C, if we could vote on C, understanding that it is.
Right.
Because it did specifically
Right.
say in the request for C that it's for the remainder of the year. And that was the other part I was confused
And it
about.
will be the
Some
honeymoon, and
others-
if they work out well, they stay on for next year. Otherwise, they don't.
So it is 1, and then the second one would then be,
Amend that to 1
right,
as small.
would be 1 and 9.
But
It's
Well,
total, but look, when the budget comes and it has it listed, we'll be happy.
Okay, I just want to make sure they get the two. They have seven,
Okay.
we have kindergartners going back there next year. We know that kinders typically struggle, and I want to make sure that we have the right staffing.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
For C, yes. Yes, personnel to approve the new position request for 1.0 behavior support assistant academy to finish out the remainder of this school year.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Excellent. All right, so the second one now would be to approve the new position request for 10 behavior support assistants to be located at the following locations for the 2019-2020 school year.
Correct.
Motion.
Second. There you go.
Okay, so now that we are cleared for 2019-2020 school year, all those, yes.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Actually, I just have one comment on that, because, Mr. Kane said, well, we could just put the positions in the budget and then you approve the budget.
Right.
I think the board as a whole would rather know what you're looking to do, rather than having a budget, try to figure out how many personnel we added.
Yep,
You know
right,
what I mean, to
right.
justify
Yep.
it. So to me,
So-
this is
Right,
the
that-
You're saying-
appropriate way
You
to
like
do
it.
it. is
And
to
the
clear
small
out.
integrated, that's for next year as
Because
well.
we've had the presentation on it, now we know what it is, and that it's
Right.
like all
Yeah.
pretty
And then on the
picture.
city side, next thing you know, we're not really looking at that, and then
That's where it gets to be
come
big glossed
September,
over.
October, we're filling that position, and we're sitting there going, where'd that come from? And that's not fair to the board.
Understood. So, yeah, I mean,
We like the way you
any-
did it.
well, I'll
That you
take
put
it,
it
I'm gonna
in.
take it as a compliment.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Next.
Motion to approve pay rate change and job description revision for literacy interventionists.
Second.
All right. Everybody get a chance to look at that.
Yes.
Yes.
Is Amy still?
Only if Amy is in my.
Miss Amy Anderson, if you would.
I can speak on it, she might have stepped out. Oh, is she here?
Is everybody good? If everybody's good, there's no questions.
Yeah,
You don't have to come.
Okay.
No, we're fine.
Bam. All right.
Okay.
All
I'm
those in
just gonna
favor
say-
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
We looked at the Alice report and we really do. I know. I always like to justify
I know,
that
but
every
if we're
2
saying
weeks.
yes,
Yeah.
we're in a giving mood.
I know, that's
Right, good.
Motion to approve the new job description for family school liaison.
Second.
Questions, comments, or concerns?
No, I think this is,
That's-
I mean,
we've
these
heard
are
about
great
it today.
positions to have, like,
Yes.
yeah. We used to have them years ago, I think, but they were called something
PSL.
PSLs.
We don't want them copying.
No.
No.
They have to
So-
really work with kids,
Yeah.
right? There's no copying to be done.
Yep.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Motion to accept, to approve a grant from USTA New England for the amount of $1,500.
Second.
All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
No,
All hearts and
we
minds
like
are
money.
clear. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Bid waiver.
Motion to approve bid waiver and purchase order for customized district recruitment plan in the amount of $9,960.
Second.
Okay, any questions, comments, or concerns? Yes, Mr. Mercier?
Again, I'm just gonna raise the question, because I was looking through the actual description of services for this. And is it that at the end, we're getting a draft plan from them? And then it also says 2 consultant days over 5 months. I'm just curious how they define a consultant day. Does that mean like 16 man hours at a cost of the 9,900?
Do you want me to speak to that? So a couple of things. One, Dr. Perkins, I talk to him often, and it's really specifically around ensuring that our minority recruitment efforts are competitive with other districts' minority recruitment plans. And so he has provided us with sample copies of what other districts are doing. I was in touch with him yesterday. We met this morning in cabinet. We have some work to do to I want to say bring the bling to make sure that when we go to our fairs, which are up and coming, we have 2 coming up now, one in New York City and the other one is in Boston. Just ensuring that our plan is tight, calling and using him for those services has been what we've done.
Has our minority recruitment gone up?
Well, we're just really embarking on this. We can speak to our administrators, and the answer is absolutely
Yes,
yes. We know that we, statewide, across the state, I think there's 8% candidates, and every district, 169 districts wanting that 8%, right? And so it's what we do to compete, to get the people here. And so I know Dr. Tucker's worked with the mayor's office.
Yep, we have a plan. Tricia and I have developed our plan, and it has several different components to that plan. We've done a very good job with recruiting minority administrators to the district, so now we're turning our efforts towards teachers. Not that our numbers are like very, very low, but we do need to focus on and increase those numbers. And the superintendent is correct. When we look at the state data, when you look at the number of minorities enrolled in educator preparation programs within the state of Connecticut, that number is shrinking and it just gets smaller and smaller. So most of the districts in Connecticut are competing against one another. So we are looking at avenues and opportunities outside of Connecticut, but within the tri-state area, for starters, to see if that will help us to yield a better rate of return.
So you do this plan, or the consultant does the plan and then we implement it?
Well, we already have a plan in place, so the consultant's plan is going to focus on the work that we will be doing outside of Connecticut, targeting teachers as well as sharing with us strategies from other districts.
Collaborative, like a think tank, about trying to make it better and bigger, and why is it that our plan is working or not working, and what can we do to make it more appealing
And
to those
consulting with
folks.
him is now, okay, so now, and just learning about the tips and tricks, okay, so we are going to the mayor's office now and we are saying, okay, how do we, I think Jarrell is working on something now,
Yes,
but.
we did meet with the mayor's office because one of the other things that we have in our plan, we realized there was some gap there and we're trying to address it, is if we are serious about recruiting people outside of Connecticut to come to New Britain, we need to think about housing. So we're working, we've had several conversations with the mayor's office regarding not just real estate, but maybe discounted housing for people that are graduating from undergraduate teachers that would move here and have some place where they could live at a discounted rate.
Like full package versus just, here's your salary and good luck finding somewhere to
I'm not so
live.
much concerned about the plan, like the plan itself. I'm concerned about the money we're paying the vendor to implement a plan. We already have a plan. That's my question.
Well,
Not so
for
much
me,
what the plan
it's
is.
consultation of,
Right.
we've never found ourselves in a situation where we're trying to compete with a small number of people, and I want to be sure that we have, well.
Haven't we been in this position since I've been on the board, I know we've been.
But we haven't been
trying to-
successful, which is the
Right,
point.
but haven't we been using the same vendor to do?
No.
No,
We haven't, okay.
not for this,
He
no.
was
So
using
based
something
on the
else.
sample plan, it looks like they look at our data and then create a recruitment plan.
Strategies, and
And
they work with
strategies,
Shawana and Putnam.
Right, based on that. And I know, I'm in a district that literally
Something
just got approved a new program that is going to lead to teacher certification, and the whole point is to recruit minority teachers.
What is that?
It just got approved last week. It's, the teachers, basically, they're gonna hire 10 people who have degrees and wanna go into teaching that are minorities,
Yeah.
and they will be supported by a master teacher.
The NYU Steinfeld project?
No, right here in Connecticut,
Oh,
in the district that I work in.
oh.
So districts are getting really creative
Yeah, they gotta figure
because
something out.
not only
Yeah.
is it, you know, I mean, when we
Like
talk about
unicorns.
competing, I wanna say last year, all of the state universities together turned out 23 teachers of color.
Now, do you have a consultant in your district? That's not like proprietary
No,
information.
because our district does consult, it started out as basically consulting, and PD is what they, is one of their branches as a district.
They have a very robust central office.
Very robust.
Yes.
Correct, you're in the
Yes.
correct
Yeah.
spot about that.
I get
Right.
you.
So,
Yep.
so literally, they're starting their own
Okay.
teacher
Yeah.
training program.
Institute.
All right.
Well, no, but the resources are there.
Right, they do have the resources.
Right.
And so they don't
but-
need to go out, because they
Right,
have it.
they don't need to go out because you have them inside, so I'm.
Right, well, that's the plan, because it
Yeah.
literally, the state has to approve it as a, you know, legal way to get certified, so all the
Yeah.
Right.
syllabi and all the court, you know, have to be presented and so on. But yeah, I mean, I just want to point out, numbers wise, you know, if you think about that, the whole, all of the state universities turning out 20-something teachers of color, the competition is huge. Now, in looking at this plan, I know it's a sample plan, and it talks about, you know, recruitment quite a bit, and it goes into retention a little bit, which I always feel is the back end, because that's the other thing the data tells us, as few as there are, they also build the profession a lot faster, and it often has to do with the work environment, and supervision and stuff much more than it has to do with children and things like that. So I don't know how much collaboration there will be with the consultant with creating the plan, just to kind of, I know Perkins is good, I've, you know, spoken, whatever, we've been to a conference with them and whatever, I understand the work they do, but very locally understanding, you know, possibly our need to do more district-wide training to retain of everyone else, not the recruitees, which this focuses a lot on what we do for the recruited, including like starting affinity groups and stuff like that. But for the most part, within our groups, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, that's
we
where
hang
we're
out
at.
together. That we can
right?
do.
It's the other. Yeah. So I just want to mention that as something that I.
So we can, and again, that's with Dr. Perkins. This is not their first line of, I mean, recruitment and retention. Well, we have strengths, we don't have all, and we don't have 9 supervisors or 9 people in our talent office to do a lot of the work.
Right.
Yep. Again, just asking the question.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Limited pot of money.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
But I do applaud the fact that we are looking at it as something we need to improve on.
Yes.
And I think minority teacher recruitment across the board it's been on our strategic plan and it's been in the forefront, but we have to be as creative as possible if we want to move the marker forward as far as success or not success for that.
And this will help us hopefully in the short term. We've got the long term down pat with our Ed Rising program and students from high school, but we won't see a return on that
For a while.
a while. And so we realize that.
Right. Well, and then the other thing, as long as we're talking about minority teacher recruitment, there are pots in the database of people who are certified, but they may not be certified in the area you need them to be certified. And how do you tap into those folks? Because there's plenty of them. You know, they're certified, but they're not certified in, we have a shortage in science or math. They might be certified in history, which is a dime a dozen, or English, but so trying to figure out creative ways of working with them.
Isn't there another, I don't know the name of the program, but like if I have a bachelor's, I may not have gone through the teaching program, but I have a bachelor's, you were like, relay is our relay.
It's all relay.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
As you hear all the engineers go, arc.
Yeah, alternative route to certification.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, any questions, comments, or concerns? All hearts and minds are clear.
All hearts and minds are clear.
We say that at church. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Motion to approve bid waiver and purchase order for Ed Advance.
Motion second.
All right. Any questions?
You want, I can answer that if you want.
Do we have questions?
Do we have questions?
We might not have questions.
I'm gonna be quiet on this
I
one.
can't.
I'm quiet.
You're
I'll quiet this
quiet.
one too.
Wow. I don't know what to do with that.
Take it and
I
run.
was expecting Dr. Sid.
No.
Wow. This is usually your bellow.
I know. Can we just like approve it and go?
We can, and please don't motion because we have to add to the agenda.
Damn it.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'll entertain a motion to.
Motion to it, what if I say it fast?
Motion to add an item to the agenda regarding discussion of upcoming union negotiations.
Yes, we know.
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I know. All right, now.
Motion to go into executive session for discussion of that item with Dr. Tucker, Ms. Gregomalls, and Mr. Kane, as well as Superintendent Sarah.
Second.
All those in favor, this is the last item on the agenda that's not listed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are now going into executive session. Thank you very much. We are back in session. I will, oh my God, it's freezing. I will entertain a motion to ratify the union contract for Local 51.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Great. And then I will also entertain a motion to ratify 818, right? Yes. 818, 818. Yes.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Aye.
I wanted someone who was
Motion to
on the team
adjourn
to
is
say
from
some of the
me.
things that accomplishments, we'll put them in later. All right, perfect. Let's get out.